During the 1980s, I was a paper boy delivering the Patriot Ledger on Summer Street in Blackpond Hill. And one of the houses where I delivered the paper was the Chicko's house. I knew Brett's brother Todd very well, as he was a classmate of mine, a good friend, boys, Cub Scouts, CCD, things like that. And I knew Mr. and Mrs. Chicko as wonderful people who were always just so kind to everybody. But I didn't know Brett or his brother Frank very well because they were older than me. But when I think back to the early 80s, what I remember about Brett Chicko is that he was huge. There would be times that I would show up at the Chicko's door on Friday to collect, the $2 1/4 or whatever it was for delivering the paper, and Brett would answer the door, and I remember looking at him and being like, oh my God, that dude could rip me apart with his bare hands. All the kids in the neighborhood were in awe of Brett for his size, and he became even more huge when he was recruited to play football at BC only a year or so after Doug Flutie won the Heisman Trophy. Who would have guessed that the man, and to us growing up in the neighborhood, Brett Chicko was never a boy. He was always a man. Would become someone who would not rip people apart with his bare hands, but that he would use his hands to repair people who had been ripped apart. So please welcome Mr. Bill Christie to tell us more about Dr. Brett Chicko.
Good evening. I'm very, very proud to be here to represent Brett in his presentation, his induction into the Norwell Ultimate. I've known Brett for most of his life, and it's been my joy to watch him grow up from a very young, lanky young boy who swore never ate a full meal the whole day. When he was young, he loved playing sports. In baseball, he was the one boy I'm sure that never learned the meaning of the word stop. You give him the signal, and to him that meant, we're going home. We're going all the way. The ball might have only gone to the pitcher, but we're going home all the way. He never stopped. He ran, and he ran, and he never stopped running. Well, eventually, the body started to catch up with the spirit. At youth football, it was exactly the same way. And I think one of the things that gave him his determination in later years was not the practices, but the games under the one light at the Vinus, at the old school. Wrong school. And believe me, those were the toughest contact games ever here. And all they were boys picking up amongst themselves, waiting for their rides to go home. Although when the parents came, they just preferred to watch the boys play under the one light. These boys would play for another hour after practice with all the parents cheering them on. And I'm sure this is one of the things that gave him the incentive to keep going. Brett's mission, whether it was youth football or high school or college, when once he hit the ball, there was no stopping. Once he got that ball, it was in his mind that he was going to go all the way, just like baseball. And the pictures in the ledger, or the pictures in the narrative, you could always tell it was Brett. You could never see his number. All you could see was the feet running, because on his back were 5, 6, sometimes 7 of the opposing players. But that never stopped him. He kept on going. And he moved across that line with a half a dozen men on his back, over and over again. They would try hard to bring him down. Well, one of the things that I used to get a kick out of watching Brett was when he had the ball, believe me, he scared the hell out of the opposing players. But what really scared them is when they came around the corner and they saw Brett and he didn't have the ball. Then they knew they were in trouble. Brett was a natural leader. He always gave 110%. His perseverance and dedication were a true reflection of the love and devotion shown by his father Frank, his mother Joanna, his brothers Frank and Todd, his sister Amy. And it was a joyous day when Brett brought Mary Ann to the house and brought him into the family as his wife, who is now here tonight with two beautiful children, Audrey and Emma. Nice to meet you guys. Brett's belief that we should live every day to the fullest implemented him to let his heart dictate his undaunted spirit. His philosophy led to many honors. Some of these are all written up in the program, but I'd like to mention just a few. He was the Globe Football Player of the Year, the Globe Wrestler of the Year, the State Wrestling Champion twice, once as a sophomore, New England Wrestling Champ twice, National Football Foundation Hall of Fame Scholar of the Year in the Eastern Division. Along with these, he had many, many other honors. He was so well received and honored that he was recruited by Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Syracuse, and Notre Dame. And he made a great choice in accepting a 4-year athletic scholarship to Boston College, where he led it in 86, 87, and 88. And his career culminated in a phenomenal game played in Dublin Stadium in Ireland against Notre Dame, where he was an outstanding player through that whole game. After graduation, Brett took a solo motorcycle ride across the United States just to determine what life he really wanted to pursue. He returned and renewed his dedication. He attended Temple University, and believe it or not, this young man became a doctor. He received his board certification in podiatric surgery. It's not often we get a chance to tell those we love how much we admire them, how much they mean to us, how proud we are to have them in our lives, and of their accomplishments. Brett, this is about the man you are today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to present Dr. Brett Chicko.
Hey, dude. That's my son. My little mini. I do have to point out, I think we went to the same barber. Thank you. Hall of Fame members, inductees, Hall of Fame guests. I'm really honored to be up here. Not just because the great athletes, but because of the great people. And we're hearing this tonight. Although time does restrict me from thanking everyone, I do want to thank my coaches, my teammates, and my players. I do want to acknowledge my family. Mr. Christie did discuss a lot of this, but sports and my family are in one. First of all, my mother, Joanna Chicko. I'm going to do this a lot. You might not want to clap after each one. My wife, Mary. My daughter, Audrey. Evan, who just ran up here. My sister-in-law, Lisa Chicko. Mr. Christie, Mrs. Christie, who are like an aunt and uncle to me. Julie Christie, thank you for nominating me. And of course, my brothers, Frank Chicko, Todd Chicko. When I think of sports, I think of them, and I think of my dad. Life in sports started out with knee footballs, were food, and backyard games. Knee football I loved because it was Frank and I versus my dad and Todd. If my dad wasn't there, it was Frank and I versus Todd. It was awesome. He was 5. But back to my father, who taught us, all of us, about life through sports. My father got into coaching so when to wait to spend more time with us. He sacrificed a lot of his professional career, but he never mind because family was more important. My father taught us the value of hard work. He taught us to prepare and how to practice. He taught us the mental aspects of the game as well as the physical. He taught us to focus. He taught us intensity. And he taught us to compete without fear. He taught us how to win in both sports and life. As a family, we had a lot of successes. Frank, Todd, and I all won Little League championships with my father coaching. Todd won a Pop Warner Super Bowl with my dad as the head coach. Frank was a wrestling champion. Frank and I won South Shore League wrestling championship as a team with Coach Austin. Where's Coach Austin? I love it. After all these years, you still look like G.I. Joe. Frank and I, our football teams won league championships. Todd's team won the Super Bowl in, I forgot to ask you because you were late. Was it 1986? 87, you were right. I'm sorry. But Frank was all-star. Wrestling, football, baseball. Todd was football, basketball, and baseball. Winning was the goal. Losing was acceptable, but only if you gave everything you had. My dad taught us there were 2 things that were not acceptable: quitting and not trying. So how do I sum up what my father taught me in sports? Sports is practice for life. Be brave. Give it everything you have. Do your best. Have focus, have intensity. Find a way to win, but most of all, have fun in life. Love your wife, love your family, enjoy life. I do. Thank you. Tonight's been a lot of fun.
I'm going to encourage you on something. If you haven't had a chance tonight to meet the Chickos, please take the time to do so. Frank, I have to echo what Brett said. Mr. Chicko, I never ever would have called him Frank. He was an outstanding man, so, and it's an outstanding family. And Joanna, congratulations. I also have to say, he mentioned Dick Austin. Dick, where are you? Can you please raise your hand if Dick Austin taught you about puberty?